Now, I want to start off saying that this is my personal opinion, of course, so don't just take my word alone. But to me personally, contour of any form is essential. So it could be anything from the traditional contour to blush to highlight, but any form of it is essential to makeup, or more like an essential part of makeup. Because without some sort of contour, you will look, well, fake, flat. Like my husband sometimes says, if he comes in with me just doing my foundation, he'll say, there's something wrong with your face. And there's a good point to that, because naturally your face is not supposed to look like that. Because let's imagine our face without makeup. Your face still has natural contouring from shadows, from where your cheekbones are, from where your nose is, your forehead, your chin, so on and so forth. You create shadows. You blush where there's your cheeks or wherever you blush, but nevertheless, your face is not one solid color. So you cannot just apply foundation and think that's okay. It's not. You don't look natural. Even though I know sometimes people get scared of like applying more than one makeup product, thinking like, oh, this is too much makeup. It's not. It's not. The point where it gets too much makeup is when you start having too much of a single product on. You need to have some sort of coloration in your cheeks. Contouring of any form is something that is, in my opinion, absolute no-go without makeup. Even if you apply a little bit or not, you have to have it, or else you're not achieving the whole point of makeup, which is to accentuate your natural features. Now, I also wanted to point out the differences between liquid and powder contouring, because there is a good bit of difference. The most obvious, of course, it's, well, there's liquid and it's powder. The liquid you apply first with foundation, and of course the powder is kind of afterwards. The common misconceptions when it comes to contouring is that powder is the natural look and then the liquid is the more drag queen, over the top, kind of crazy look. And yes, we've all seen those Instagrams where they do some crazy contouring, but we're not gonna get it like that. If you really think about it, anything that you apply too much of, you're gonna look crazy and over the top. So it's not just with contouring, I mean anything. You apply too much eyeshadow, you look cray. So don't be scared of that. Now the reason why I like using both is because, well, first of all, if you can't find your exact foundation shade, which me, I always struggle, no matter what brand, how many different variations they have, I never find my exact shade, and that's totally fine because they're not made for me, they're made for everyone. When it comes to contouring, especially liquid contouring, you can pretty much customize your own foundation and you can match to your exact skin tone. So if you, let's say, have too much yellow, too much gray or pink, using a concealer shade that matches your undertone is really gonna help you. Honestly though, that's probably the main reason why I like to use more liquid. And a really big reason for why I like using powder is because it acts like a setting powder. Well, in certain areas, of course. Instead of applying like a setting powder over my whole face and then going in and contouring, I skip that. That's less texture that's gonna be adding on. Because like it or not, the more products you add on, the more it's gonna pick up. That's just the point of it. I mean, you can like shave your face and do all the other stuff, but the more you put on, the more you're gonna see. So when you eliminate at least one of the products that doesn't have that huge of an influence, especially if it doesn't even have a color, it helps that a lot. And another reason why I like powder so much is because you can have more detail advantage. So a really big example is the nose. Your nose is relatively small compared to your other facial features, I guess. So, you know, you can't take a big old brush and go pull because it takes up your whole nose. When it comes to liquid, you have to blend it out, and that kind of could be a really big struggle because, well, blending out, you kind of blend out all over your nose instead of having a more detail. So this is when powder is so nice, because you can achieve that more sculptured look and have that exact look you're trying to get. But overall, all those reasons is why I like to use both of them, because one does one thing and then another one does another thing, but both combined creates a very pretty look. Okay, so I'm gonna jump straight on in. I already did my eyes. I'm just gonna quickly do my foundation. But first, I wanted to throw out this little tip. If you're working with matte foundation, if you're gonna be applying liquid contour, don't wait. Quickly work with the foundation and apply the liquid on. Because if you wait, it will dry instead, and then you'll have these dry, empty patches when you apply the liquid. It's more like when you start blending out the liquid contour. It's gonna lift up and leave empty skin patches on your skin, and it's gonna be really hard to cover those up. So just keep in mind, work fast if you're working with matte foundation. Okay, so the whole point of contouring is picture the face or the look that you want to achieve, and then picture your own face. Now, for example, let's say your forehead's a lot bigger than the one you would like to have, or the look you're trying to get. So you take the darker shade, the darker contour, put it in the areas where you don't want it to be more visible, and the areas that you want more attention to, you put the light on. And that's really the whole point of contouring. Or let's say a nose, for example. You know, like for me, I personally don't like my little arch in my nose. It always irked me. What I would do is I would contour around it, especially like during the center more, and then I would put like some lighter contour on the tip of my nose, or like a highlight. That way, more of the attention is brought to the tip of it, having a more like button nose appearance and taking away more from the arch. So that's really the whole point of it, and that goes in regards to your cheeks, to your chin, to your forehead, to anything you really want. So I'm gonna go into liquid first. It's just concealer, that's what it is. It's basic concealer, except you take a much darker shade and then you take a lot lighter shade, but it's just concealer. It's just not your natural color. If any of you guys are curious about what are some good brands that maybe you're wanting to get but you don't know which ones, as far as like my favorite goes, all of these are pretty inexpensive. You can find most of them at your local drugstore, Walmart or Target. The first one that I've been using probably the most often nowadays is the LA Girl Pro Concealer, but these are pretty inexpensive. They range from about $3 to $5, and you can find them, like I said, almost anywhere. The reason I like the LA Girl one is because of the applicator. They have like a kind of like a brush-like tip, which was pretty nice. It's like really comfortable to apply. The next one, and probably my most favorite, NYX HD Studio concealer. And the reason that I like this one more than like some other brands is because it has a more yellow undertone. So for me personally, it's kind of harder, or at least it seems harder, to find a more yellow undertone in lighter shades versus like a lot of darker shades I feel like are more prone to being more yellow because it's like tanner. Maybe not, I don't know, but that's partially why I like it. And this one also ranges between like $5 to $7, also drugstore. This next one is the only one that I like that's not in the drugstore. It's the Sephora Bright Future Concealer. It is $14, but the reason I like this one is because it's not as matte. So my days that I'm a little more kicky underneath, like it's, I don't know, something's going on underneath my eyes, I like to use this one. It's a lot more like dewy, but not like to the point that it's like a dewy foundation or concealer. And my last favorite one for the liquid concealer contouring is the Instant Age Rewind Dark Eraser Circles. Eraser Dark Circle. That sounds really weird for some reason. And this one also ranges between $5 to $7. These at least are my favorite. Now I know there's probably many more out there that are as good if not better, but as far as these go, these will definitely not disappoint. Okay, so when it comes to the application of like liquid contouring, it's very basic because the whole point of what you're trying to achieve is to blend it out into your foundation. So it's a lot harder to mess up basically. So I'm gonna grab my LA Girl Pro Concealer, and the way you want to start off is imagine like a line coming from like the top of your ear to like the bottom of your lip. Of course, you're not gonna draw it all the way like that, but that's what you kind of wanna angle down. Everyone's cheeks are gonna be different, but that's like the basic you wanna go by. Now, one big pointer when you're doing concealer, don't just go in there and draw a huge mark. Start off very light. You can, if anything, do a tiny dab, blend it in, put a little more on, blend it in, and just keep adding on if you don't like the amount that you have. But never just go in and swoosh unless you're already comfortable with the amount and you already know how much your face needs. That's really the key with contouring and a lot of stuff really. You start off light and you add on. But I'm gonna start off, and I know for me about how much I need. You will also try to more concentrate it like towards your ear and kind of make it like disappear towards the front, because you know you don't want to have like contour going like this, or like, you know, it's like your cheek is like that. It doesn't look realistic. It doesn't look good. I do want more emphasis like right here at the bottom of my nose, no, at the bottom of my chin. My forehead is not like big this way, so I personally don't want any contour on top, but on the sides I kind of want a more heart-shaped look. So that's the other thing you have to picture. Picture the end result. So whatever you want at the end, pretty much kind of chisel your way into that. Remember, any dark areas are going to be less noticeable, and any brighter areas are going to have more attention brought up to them. So again, when you're blending out, don't be worried. It's like you can't mess it up. I mean, you're blending it out. It's like fading away basically. Remember, you're trying to more concentrate it to the back versus like bringing it out to the front. Okay, so the next part of contouring is the wider area, at least the liquid, and that's usually just a traditional concealer. The reason I say it's also contouring, because like it or not, you kind of chisel away as well in a sense. For this, it's a lot more simpler, of course. There's no really technique as far as like where you should concentrate it. It's really the parts you kind of want to accentuate. So usually it's right under your eyes. For me, it's just the tip of my nose. I don't want to put highlight anywhere else, but I know a lot of people want a more straighter nose. If let's say you have a more button nose, then I would put the concealer around the like really bridge of your nose. And that's pretty much it when it comes to liquid contouring. Again, it's really simple. Another reason why I like liquid contouring is because it is concealer after all. So let's say if I did have that extra blemish on my cheek, which I do, it works like a concealer. It covers it up. So if your foundation was being stubborn, or it's just too light, or your pimple is just being its pimple self, that will help you a lot as well. So it's kind of like two bonuses in one. Now, powder contouring is very, very similar to liquid contouring. It kind of gives you an advantage of being able to add detail. Now, of course, we're not going to be drawing a mosaic on our faces, but it gives you the option of kind of creating a more gradient, like a more in-depth gradient than you could with liquid, because liquid, after all, you blend it out, so it kind of disperses and mixes in with your foundation. Versus powder, you can concentrate it more in an area and have that area more or less visible. Now, these are some of my contouring kits. I kind of have a good bit, a little bit, I guess, maybe. Just like I said, my favorite ones for liquid contouring, I'm also going to tell you some of my favorite ones for powder contouring. Again, there's many opinions out there, so the ones that I like might necessarily be the ones that you like. But if you are looking for some, these are definitely good, and I approve. So one of my favorite ones, and probably most used of all time, NYX Highlight and Contouring Palette. As you can see, I almost destroyed this. I think it was probably my first contour palette. But the reason I really like it is because the darker contour shade is pretty like a wide range. Like some of them I would use like in the winter, and then the other darker ones, very rarely, I'd never get this dark, I would use in the summer. And then also the highlight, there's like a shimmer one, and then there's the matte one, which is no longer there anymore. But yeah, so you can have like both. You can use it as a highlight, but this one is a little more pricier. It is considered like a drugstore, surprisingly. I mean, like you can buy it in like Target and stuff. It is sold like an Ulta, but this one is $25, so it is a little more pricier compared to some other ones I'm gonna talk about. Another one of my favorite is the Pixie by Petra contour palette. The reason I really like this one is because it has shimmer shades and matte shades. So whenever I want like a more bronzy look, I would use the shimmery shades, like a more glowy look. This one is a little more pricier. When I googled it online, it was $24, but for some reason I remember buying it in like Ross or something for like $7. I don't remember anymore. I just don't remember paying $24 for this. And the last one that I can only find, I guess, price-wise, is this one. I got it in Forever 21. It was only $7. And the reason I like it, it's all matte. It's like the mattest, most basic palette you can get, and it's only $7. And considering how cheap it is pretty pigmented. So I'm going to use this shade right here. And you can use any brush that you're honestly comfortable with. I prefer like a more angled brush. The application is very, very similar to the liquid, except the only thing I'll have to say is you have to start off light. if you just like go crazy in there and apply it, you're gonna have like a huge round circle of brown. So this is extremely important. Start off light, and again, concentrate it towards the back of your ear. If anything, maybe even stipple it on if that helps you. And gradually move your way towards the center of your cheek. When you move towards the center, also make kind of like bigger motions, so it kind of like disappears as well. Also, if it helps you kind of like see your face, because I know sometimes, especially if you never contoured before, you kind of like, okay, yeah, you say do draw it like that, but like I don't see it because you've never done it before, so of course you don't see it. So one way that could help you see where your cheekbones are at and where you want to have cheekbones at is make a good old duck face. That is your body's natural way of making a line through your face, and that is where you contour. I'm gonna start at the bottom of my nose because, like I said, for me, one of my big things is I always wanted a button nose. I hated my little arch, so whenever I could, I would make it disappear. I would concentrate most of the color on the nose under it, because the appearance of a button nose is, well, like it's higher up, you know? You want to chisel in the edges of your nose. This will kind of narrow it down, as well as make the bridge of it disappear. And right there, so right after like my arch, I'm gonna apply a little bit of darker contour right there. That's gonna kind of cut it off in a way and kind of give it that more like my nose is kind of lifted. If it helps, you could also kind of like circle around the edge. And I'm also gonna grab like a tiny bit of highlight and also apply it right there at the tip. That way on camera, that's like the only thing that kind of like pops is just the tip of my nose. And that's pretty much it for contouring. Now, I wouldn't say that that's it you can do. I think contouring could take shapes in different forms, because I know some people, let's say, they don't want to do like the traditional contour that I just did, but instead they use like blush as contouring or highlight as contouring. So there's many, many different ways you can do, but this is like the most basic and traditional way that I can think of that I feel like can be the easiest explained. Now, of course, the big underlining thing is practice makes perfect. No one starts off and just does an amazing face. I mean, if it does, then that's awesome. Seriously, that's awesome. But I mean, whenever I did my first contour thing, I also was like, oh, mortified, because it looked horrible, because I just, as many videos as I watched, it just didn't make sense. So only thing I can say is just practice. Don't give up. Don't get frustrated because it didn't work out, because it never does for anyone. And you'll get there. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and most of all, I hope this was helpful for some of you guys. Thing when it comes to learning a certain skill is real practice. So I hope this was more inspiring to practice, and I hope this did help you guys kind of picture how it works out. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!